What the heck is a sinking fund? 3 years ago, I had no idea. But I'm really glad I found out because sinking funds can really help you budget effectively, reduce financial stress, and really help you achieve your long-term financial goals. So before we dive into exactly what a sinking fund is, let's talk about what it is not, which is an emergency fund. An emergency fund, we all are probably pretty familiar with, that is generally 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up in a savings account in the event of an emergency. Some people like to save more than that. Some people are just at the start of their journey and have maybe they're working on that first $1,000 saved. Either way, an emergency fund is for things that pop up unexpectedly that we have just in case of emergency. A sinking fund is a similar savings account where we are saving up for future planned expenses that we generally know are coming at us or can reasonably assume we're going to be encountering in the future. Some of the more common sinking funds that might pop to mind are saving for a down payment on a home, saving for future car repairs, saving for a down payment on that car that you want to buy, saving for a wedding, a vacation, your children's college funds, anything that you want to save for. That's a sinking fund. So basically just a savings account. I guess it's just fun to have a different name for those things sometimes. So why are sinking funds important? Well, they're really important for effective money management and making sure that you are setting yourself up to be prepared for future expenses as they come up. How much money should I save in my sinking funds? That's going to be very dependent on your situation. First of all, what are you saving for? Are you saving a couple $1,000s to have for car repairs in case something happens the next year, or if you know your car is going to need some maintenance coming up? Or are you trying to save for a house down payment? That's going to be a lot more money, probably. It just depends on what you're saving for, and you can have as many sinking funds as you need, of course. So exactly how much you need to save is going to look different for everybody. I personally have 2 sinking funds. One is for car, vet, and medical expenses, and I have $2,000 in that account. And my other one is for my annual expenses, and I have another $2,000 in that account. That is because I have been budgeting my money since 2016, and I know that $2,000 is a safe amount for me for either of those categories. Generally, any car maintenance that has come up has not gone over $2,000. Knock on wood, any vet expenses I've had come up in the last 5 years have been less than $2,000. So that just felt like a comfortable amount for me. And my sinking fund of annual expenses also has $2,000 in it. And that's because I know every year I have recurring annual expenses that add up to about $1,800. And for me, that's my cell phone bill I pay yearly. That is my annual car registration. Generously, it's going down every year, but that's okay. And my car inspection, that's annually. And my gym membership, I pay annually. And I might be forgetting some things, but I know what those amounts are because I've been tracking them the last couple years. So I know that my sinking fund is plenty to cover all of those expenses for an entire year. So if you're not quite sure where to start, I would just take a look at your budget, try to think about the things that maybe you've paid for over the last 6 months to a year and just kind of extrapolate out and see what feels best for you. So how do I set up a sinking fund? Well, you could start with the bank that you already are working with. See if they allow you to divide up your savings account into maybe different subsections. I know a lot of online banks do allow you to do that nowadays. I personally have Capital One. They let me rename any account, anything I want it. So I have one called Emergency Fund. I have one called Real Estate. SoFi, I don't think they let me rename them. I haven't looked too hard, but I know plenty of other banks let you divide up a savings account into as many different names and things and iterations as you like. If your bank doesn't allow you to do that, maybe you want to consider opening up separate savings accounts at a different bank. I recommend online banks just because They generally offer people a much higher APY, so the amount of interest that your money is gaining every month. Typically with a kind of big bank, chain bank like Wells Fargo or Bank of America, they don't offer a great APY. It's generally less than 1%. Meanwhile, there's tons of online banks that, yes, they don't have necessarily brick and mortar banking centers that you can go into, even though Capital One does. SoFi does not, for example. But they generally, because they don't have that overhead of structure that they have to pay for, they offer their customers a much higher APY. So, for example, my SoFi savings account is currently at 4.0% APY, and my Capital One Performance Saver account is at 3.8 or something like that, I think. So, much better than what a traditional bank offers generally. And then from there, I recommend setting up maybe a little auto transfer, or a lot of banks have that option where they round up. So every time you make a purchase with your debit card, they will round up the change to the nearest dollar and move the change over to your savings account. It's just kind of automatic, worry-free saving. Or even another option, I think a lot of employers allow you to set up direct deposit to multiple banks at once. Also helpful. That way, money can be allocated right to your savings accounts before it even hits your checking account. So you're not tempted and there's no lag time in saving your money. You can automatically just shuffle it right over there. You don't even have to know. Well, I hope you know, but you know what I mean. So how do I prioritize my sinking funds? First and foremost, I'm going to say, start with your emergency fund. Then when that is good and at a comfort level that you're okay with, then start with your sinking funds. And as far as prioritizing them, certainly you want to look at what expenses could be coming up first. If you're saving up for a house and you know in a few years you want to purchase one, okay, that sinking fund is maybe on like a 2 to 3 year timeline. Whereas maybe your car's been making a funny noise lately and you're nervous, it's going to break down on you. I would certainly set up a car maintenance sinking fund and prioritize that a lot quicker than a home down payment in that situation. So it's just going to be based on your goals and the urgency of expenses that you expect to have coming up. What are some common mistakes to avoid? First of all, not saving enough. I've certainly been guilty of that before. But that being said, any savings that you have in your sinking fund towards something when it comes up is better than having nothing. But anyway, not saving enough. Again, budget, look back at your expenses, think about it. Even if you don't have enough saved up this time around, now you know for next time, and you can set your goal a little bit higher next time around. Another common mistake might be not tracking your expenses regularly. Are you checking in on your sinking funds? Are they getting regular deposits? Have you been making an effort to put money towards them a little bit, even if it's $1, $5 every week, every month, whatever it may be? Just make sure you are checking in on those things. You're not forgetting about them. There's no weird expenses that have come out of them that you maybe weren't expecting to be there. Just make sure you're taking a look at your sinking funds from time to time, maybe monthly as you're doing your budget, and making sure everything is adjusted appropriately. Have things changed? Have you gotten a raise? Maybe you can add more to your sinking funds now. Just don't forget to regularly check in with your sinking funds as well as your budget. Overall, sinking funds are not that complicated. They're really just a savings account with an intended purpose. And if you can, don't forget to include one for some fun, travel money, fun money, shopping money, whatever it is. It might be a fun way to, if you don't allow yourself to budget for things week to week, like shopping, traveling, whatever it be, then set up a sinking fund for that and trickle some money towards it. And then when you reach a certain point, go have some fun with it. They don't have to be all serious all the time. And while it might be nice to have some fun with your sinking funds, I also very much understand the anxiety and the stress that can come from parting with that money once you have so diligently saved up for it. And I actually recently made a video about the anxiety of spending our emergency fund and our sinking funds, and you guys can check that video out right here. If you do have any cool stories about sinking funds and how they may have helped or saved you financially in the past, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in my next video.